Aw man, Halloween's coming up soon and I don't have any good costume ideas. Maybe I'll be a skeleton. Nah. A wizard? I don't know. Ooh, childhood obesity. Well, that's not really a costume, but it is pretty scary. If only I had some source of inspiration. Ooh, I know. Maybe if I play some spooky games, I can probably think of a costume. I've had this one sitting in my library for at least a few months, so I'm gonna go with that one. Tom Clancy's Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 358 over 2 days Revengeance Game of the Year edition was released by Troika and Activision in 2004, the latter of which is known for such classics as Pitfall, B-Movie, and Duck Dynasty. This is one of those games that wasn't too popular when it came out, so you either didn't know what it was or you were in love with it. There was no in between. It also didn't help that it was released in competition with Half-Life 2, Metal Gear Solid 3, and Halo 2, which means that it basically had the comparative popularity of the fourth hidden Jonas Brother. Even though this game got popular reviews on release, it was also riddled with more bugs and issues than the abandoned Datsun 240Z that's been sitting in your neighbor's yard since you were a kid. Now that you're older, you've thought about asking to buy it off of him, but something about his house seems untrustworthy. Maybe it's the fact that grass only grows in one patch on his yard, or the fact that he still has an unopened newspaper from the Carter administration sitting on his doorstep. You remember one incident when you were a child and you couldn't sleep, so you looked through your window into his yard and saw him whittling away at a stick, and after a few moments, he dropped the stick and looked up in your direction. You were frozen like a deer in headlights, but you kept staring as he lifted his heavy frame and slowly strode inside. And as he opened the door, you heard a faint scream coming from the dimly lit room before the door slammed shut. Maybe it was just the TV, you thought. But every day after that, you felt the sensation of being watched every time you walked past that godforsaken house. And you could have sworn that there was always a light breeze coming from that Datsun, no matter what the weather was like that day. Luckily, there's still a dedicated fanbase that's ironed out most of the bugs and restored a shit ton of missing content, and even added a few hours of new quests, weapons, and items, restoring it to the former glory that it was supposed to have upon release. Once you start up a new game, you have the option of creating your own character, or taking a BuzzFeed personality quiz to determine which kind of spooky sucky boy you'll be. Alright, all the questions are done, which means my class is... Wait, who's flickering the lights?
Nosferatu!
My class is a Nosferatu. Okay, well, let's see what that means. Nosferatu have an appearance of 0 and can never raise it higher? Wow, I have to applaud this game for its realism. Once you've completed your quizzical questionnaire, you're immediately presented with a character sheet that looks like it was ripped straight out of a Dungeons & Dragons book, which makes sense since the lore for this game comes from a tabletop RPG. Judging by all this D&D influence, I'm gonna go ahead and assume that the scariest enemy in this game is gonna be a high school football player. It's also worth noting that all the stats on this character sheet increase the more that you use them, which means the developers did the bare minimum of RPG programming. Yay! Now that I've created a character, it's time to give him a name. I think I'll name him... I'll name him Scrimmy Bingus. There we go. He looks like a handsome young man that I'd trust to be my nighttime chaperone. But not around my blood.
Out of your friends, which are you? Truck freak crazy ass. The fire.
When the opening cutscene begins, the first thing you notice is that it has more blocks than the internet connection on the computers in the school library. How dare those heathens try to keep me away from coolmathgames.com. Depending on the class and gender you pick, the intro will be slightly different, but my playthrough starts off with a black dude on a bed, and judging by the condom wrappers, handcuffs on the bed, and empty pill bottles, he's probably playing Dead or Alive Extreme Beach Volleyball. A few hours pass and he awakens as a vampire, before immediately getting 360 no-scoped and dying. Wait a minute, the black guy dies first? That's probably racist. Anyway, against a black screen, you hear the soft sounds of horse hooves slowly trotting down a cobblestone road. The blackness slowly fades away, and you awake in the back of a horse-drawn carriage. The words, The Elder Scrolls V appears on screen, and Oh, god damn it. Todd Howard, you slimy bastard, you've done it again. Your character sits on stage at a high school auditorium while a man who looks and sounds suspiciously like the head Nazi from Star Wars The Force Awakens talks about some cryptic bullshit that I didn't understand.
This is a load of barnacles.
I heard that!
His name is Prince LaCroix, and he's the leader of the Southern California Vampire Association, and his name totally makes sense because he is absolutely the physical manifestation of a LaCroix bottle. I want you to look at this man and tell me that he doesn't look exactly how a lime fart would probably taste. Wait. Is that Mr. Freeze? Anyway, the prince formerly known as LaCroix says that he'll let you live, or undie, yay? But you'll have to be his errand boy and run errands for him because that's what errand boys do. After taking approximately one step outside, the camera pulls an oblivion and forces you to talk to Hobo John DiMaggio.
Stop! You violated the law.
After completing a short tutorial, you're left to your own devices to roam around Southern California doing as much vampire shit as you want. Unless you're a Nosferatu, in which case you'll have to skulk around the shadows to traverse the world in order to hide your ugly, hideous, shamefully disgusting appearance. Kinda like Jeb Bush.
Yeah, what a little bit. Lord! Oh, sweet Jesus!
Miss Keisha. Oh my fucking god, she fucking dead.
Like I said earlier, the stats in this game increase the more you use them, and most of them are combinations of two main skills. For example, your lockpicking skill is a combination of dexterity and security, hacking is a combination of computers and wit, and socialist revolution is a combination of poverty and population. During the tutorial, Hobo DiMaggio gives you a gun, and it fucking sucks. The relationship between where you point your gun and where the bullets actually go is akin to a couple that's been married for 50 years and has only loved each other for 20. But the more experience you gain, the more points you can put into gunplay, and the less likely you are to miss a point-blank shot and shoot yourself in your undead dick.
I just fucking shot myself!
In addition to each class having natural affinities for certain skills, they also have different disciplines that they can use in combat, from invisibility to animalistic powers to making people explode. So let's talk about them. First off, we have the Nosferatu, which is what my beautiful baby boy Scrimmy is. Nosferatu are uglier than an incel after being denied female interaction, and because of this, they have to get from place to place by either traversing through the sewers or taking advantage of everybody's terrible eyesight and just walking right past them. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that the only way to actually spook a citizen like this is to get within 2 feet of their face.
I hope my horrible ugliness won't be a distraction to you.
Not at all, boy!
Luckily, this isn't too much of a problem because they can become my dad and just turn invisible. They also have the ability to summon whole-ass animals to attack their opponents, and use the Potence ability to add strength to all of their melee attacks. Because of their kinship with animals, rats don't run away from them, and they can even feed off of them for some extra blood. Every class also has the ability to temporarily boost their dexterity skills like lockpicking and mop kicking and lizard licking. Wait a minute. Ugly! Oh, that's it! I think I finally have a costume idea! I'm a Picasso! The next class is the Bruja. These vampires are the radicals of the vampire world, and they don't take very kindly to being ordered around. Because of this, they have abilities that let them run faster and increase their movement speed, and they're also naturally good at unarmed fighting. However, they're less likely to stay in control during a frenzy due to their zealousness. More on that later. These guys also have the ability to intimidate their opponents like a singular cloud appearing on California's weather alert system. Their name also fits their class quite nicely because in this universe, the word Bruja is actually Spanish for Rage Against the Machine. Gangrels are the wild, animalistic citizens of the vampire world, which gives them a huge boost to strength and stamina during a frenzy. One could even say that they're the, Beastie Boys of the vampire world. Man, fuck y'all, I'm hilarious. Gangrels can summon animal spirits and eventually gain the ability to transform into a cheetah man and slice up their enemies like a nice green onion in a macaroni salad. Next are the Malkavians. Now these guys, they live in a society, alright? They're fucking insane. And it's awesome. When you play as a Martin Luther King, you see the world differently and you speak in riddles, like an upset girlfriend, or Dr. Seuss on ketamine. These mentally disturbed vampires hear voices in their heads, and because they see everything through rose-tinted beer goggles, they can see things that others can't see, like people's auras. Macaulay Culkins also possess the ability to share their madness with those around them, cult leader style. And as if these dudes weren't crazy enough, they can also turn invisible. Fun fact, if you beat the game as a Malkavian, a screen pops up that asks you for your home address, and if you enter it in, within 2 weeks, you'll get a free Guy Fawkes mask in your mail. Too bad it kinda smells like sarin gas. Remember all those art kids that you would bully in high school? Well, when they died, they turned into Toreador. In addition to being able to run fast and eat ass, they can also see people's auras like the Malkavians, and apparently their presence also intimidates others? I mean, Van Gogh drank yellow paint, William Shakespeare had a gay lover, and the kids from Jet Set Radio can bring down a helicopter with nothing but spray paint, so I guess artists are pretty intimidating. These guys have the easiest time blending into human society, and because of this, every action that affects their humanity is doubled. More on that later too. Also, whenever you pick this class, you get a different ending depending on what your star sign is, but if you're a Virgo, the game just uninstalls itself. Okay, now take the Toreador, give them unfiltered cigarettes, force them to listen to the Cure and Neutral Milk Hotel for 2 weeks, and you've got the Tremere. Since they're the goth kids of the vampire realm, they regularly practice magical blood rituals and aren't trusted by the rest of the Suck Society, but you just don't understand their lives, okay? They can't raise any of their physical attributes above 4 out of 5, but that really doesn't matter when you can make people explode just by whispering Wingardium Leviosa or Fetus Deletus or something like that. Yeah, they can heat a person's blood until it builds up so much pressure that their body fucking explodes. They can also create protective shields made of blood and shoot blood projectiles at enemies. They're literal bloodbenders and it's badass. And finally, we have the Ventru. These guys are the old money fuckboys that you can probably find snorting painkillers off of the dashboards of their dad's BMWs in the country club parking lot. Meanwhile, the dad is busy fucking his receptionist, and the mom is looking at themed bathrooms on Pinterest with a glass of wine in one hand and a bottle of benzos in the other. Since they're in the upper echelon of vampire society, they gain no blood from feeding on animals, and they'll actually vomit if they feed on hobos or prostitutes. I mean, I probably would too, but at least I'm polite about it. In addition to intimidation and being able to dominate the minds of the weaklings around them, they also possess the Fortitude ability, which guarantees that a certain amount of incoming damage will be negated. I imagine that it's activated by yelling something like, "If you lay a finger on me, my dad is gonna sue you." Classes also have histories available to them, and they're honestly pretty funny. However, I'm not sure if they're part of the base game or if they were added in the patch that I installed, but either way, I had to put on my hacker shades, dig deep into the game files, and enter a single line of code to enable them. They're basically extra modifiers that change how your character uses their experience, or just totally changes the way they play. For example, let's take the ninja history. This alters your character and makes them excel at physical combat, but they can't use guns because it interferes with their nindo, their ninja way. Believe it! Oh, there it is. There's the obligatory Naruto joke. Everybody go home. So now that I've spent about 4.5 years talking about the background of this game, let's talk about the actual gameplay. You control your character with a first or third person camera. I usually use the third person for exploration and melee, and the first person for guns and sneaking. Please don't tell my English professor. The combat system tries to be deep and intuitive, but it feels about as deep and intuitive as my emo poetry from 7th grade. The left and right mouse buttons control melee and disciplines, and the tab button blocks. Apparently, using directional inputs while attacking changes the combo that you do, but it's only mentioned in a loading screen tip, and as far as I can tell, it has no bearing in combat. This might sound all cool and good, but the actual execution feels stiffer than a dead Mormon with rigor mortis. It also isn't helped by the fact that the game becomes more combat focused toward the end of the story. Oh well, at least you can bludgeon enemies with a severed arm. You can also jump, but I always felt that jumping in this game was like wearing a Victorian-era corset to a beach trip. Like, sure, it's a cool idea, but if I can't use it to scale a mountain backwards, then what's the point?
All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff. 32 minutes past the hour.
Crouching also allows you to sneak around enemies and civilians, with a bar that measures how visible you are to someone in your vicinity. Since you're a vampire, you have the ability to sneak up behind people and suck their blood. Oh, sorry, I meant
Scrape and lick.
However, if you pull an ex-wife and consume too much of an innocent victim's blood, they'll die, and you lose a humanity point. Humanity refers to your ability to resist the primal urges of the beast inside you, and the closer you get to 0, the more heinous and ferocious you become. I like to think of humanity as a spectrum of good and evil that ranges from saint-like figures, like Florence Welch or a Mazda Miata, to absolute evildoers, like cyberbullies or kids who mix their Play-Doh colors. Doing anything spooky or vampire-esque in public can result in a Masquerade violation. The Masquerade is the overall idea that vampires, Republicans, and other such creatures don't exist, and they're just fairy tales created by those normie humans. Breaking this ancient code of conduct results in a permanent game over if you rack up too many violations.
What will you learn? What will you learn? That your actions have consequences!
Just like mosquitoes and politicians, vampires need blood to survive. Having more blood in your system allows you to use disciplines more often and regenerate your health faster. But if you run out of blood, your character enters a frenzy mode, where they seek out the nearest living thing in order to suck out their delicious life juice. The armor options range from light clothes and leather all the way up to heavy body armor, and each clothing and armor set is unique to each class, and they fit the characters really well from an aesthetic standpoint. And the Nosferatu armor? It's leather. It's literally just fucking leather.
Leather belt. Ah!
And as the armor for the Nosferatu gets heavier, it just turns into a gimp suit that gets increasingly tighter and kinkier. But they still did a good job of making the armor kinda terrifying and at least sort of fitting the character. I mean, I want you to look me in the eyes and tell me that you wouldn't be scared if you saw this squeaky leather bastard coming toward you with a severed human arm. And the Malkavian clothes aren't much better either. Jeez, did you go to a mall and rob a fucking Spencer's? Hi, my name is Scrimmy Kinkus, and my talents include leather. In this game, the world of Los Angeles is dark and brooding and a little sexual. The general look of this game is more early 2000s than coming home from school, eating a plate of pizza rolls and playing Tony Hawk Pro Skater before your bitch of an older sister gets home and turns on Buffy the Vampire Slayer while she hogs the phone and talks to her boyfriend Tad. I think if I had to put the aesthetics of this game into one word, it would be fishnet goth. It's got a hyphen, so it counts, okay? Fuck off. You start out in Santa Monica, but as the game progresses, you get to go to downtown LA, Hollywood, and Chinatown, which is also the path of a bad Uber driver that you're too scared to confront and tell him that he's going the wrong way. I mean, how would you know? It's your first time in LA. You just kind of assumed that he was taking a shortcut while he talked to you about his kids in a thick accent that you just couldn't place. I've only been to LA at night once, which is kind of weird since I've lived in California my whole life, and there was a crackhead walking down the street asking people for money while we were lined up at a stoplight, but I'm sure the game's recreation is pretty accurate. Wait a minute, California! Duh, I think I have a new costume idea. Hey, check it out! I'm a Californian! Haha, I was on my way to In-N-Out, but then there was an earthquake! Haha, uh-oh! Oh my god, I hate myself! Each hub world has different NPCs walking around, and it really helps make the world feel more lived in. You got hobos, you got prostitutes, you got cops. The developers did a great job with writing them to feel like real people, and the voice actors' deliveries are phenomenal.
I am Jeanette, and this bit of chaos crammed in a certifiable giggle is my club.
For example, one of the first NPCs you meet is Knox Harrington, and I think that eccentric is probably the word that describes him the best.
Hell yeah! Oh man, I knew it! Oh geez, I knew you were, I just could tell, oh man, this is great! And then I saw your teeth and I was like, damn, it was like I could just sense you. The name's Knox Harrington. Pleasure to meet you. Oh man.
Wait a minute. Harrington. Blonde. Square head. Where have I seen him? Oh my god, we need to go deeper. Who is Knox Harrington? Where have I seen him before? Knox Harrington, blonde, square jaw, 2004, interesting. Where does it go? Where does it lead to? Oh my god! The developers put late male porn actor / early 2000s internet meme sensation Billy Harrington into the game? Well, this game gets an instant 10 out of 10. If this game were an early 2000s trend, it would be Echo Unlimited footwear. Although it kinda died out after the early 2000s, it still feels pretty comfy, and you could probably find it in a swap meet bargain bin somewhere. But once you open up that packaging and slip it onto your feet, or into your computer, I guess, you're bound for a good time. Well, I think that's about all I have to say about Tom Clancy's Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 358 over 2 days Revengeance. Game of the Year edition. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a Halloween party to go to.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Right now, I got to tell you about the fabulous, most groovy bell bottoms. Bell bottoms. Yeah!
Bell bottoms. Bottoms. Bell bottoms. Bell bottoms. Bell bottoms. Oh wait, you're broken. Aw. Bell bottoms. 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 Banana. Bazinga. Babinga. Bell bottoms. This isn't bell bottoms. Bell bottoms. Wait. Uh-oh. Bell bottoms. Bell bottoms. No hablo español. Bell bottoms.
Hi, what can I get for you?
Hi. Can I have a grande caramel light frappuccino with
we got rid of our light base. I can do not fat and no whipped cream.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
And can I have extra caramel too?
Yeah, of course.
All right. That's it.
All right, perfect. Robin will see you at the window. It's $4.75.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bell bottoms. Bell bottoms. Ah, bell bottoms.
Scrape and lick.